Hear ye, hear ye! I'm Dave Nelson, and on this 14th day of August 2014, I call to order this, the 20th meeting of the SciFi Geeks Club. Let's commence with the roll call. Matt Stein, are you here tonight? Matt Stein.
Nope.
Stein, Matt. Has anyone seen Matt Stein?
He is sick this evening.
Oh, I didn't get his notice. I didn't get his letter from home, his note from home.
What?
He's going to be marked down as missing this class, missing this meeting of the SciFi Geeks Club.
Oh, that's not going to be an unexcused absence, is it?
Yes, it is.
Somebody's going to give him a spanking.
It's not me.
1, 2, 3, not it.
All right. Brad Ludwig, are you here?
Here.
Okay, your question this week. What's one sci-fi show you've always wanted to start watching but haven't gotten around to yet?
Continuum.
Continuum. All right, good answer. Great show. First season, but I hear the seasons after that got pretty good. From IO9 at least, because they rave about it all the time. All right, Anessa Moyens, are you here?
Yes.
Okay, good to see you, Anessa. Your question is, if Gallifrey, the home of the Time Lords, had a radio station, or had radio stations just like we do here on Earth, which one would be the most popular?
The one that played Chameleon Circuit.
I don't get the reference. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, there is a band.
You're correct.
Thank you. There is a band called Chameleon Circuit after the part in the TARDIS that is broken, and all of their songs are all about Doctor Who.
Oh, okay, cool. I did not know this, but now I do, and I feel better for it.
You're welcome.
Question, how big is the band Chameleon Circuits?
Don't know, don't care. They're pretty catchy.
because I could see the headline for when they break up.
Anessa's sad.
No, Chameleon Circuit broken.
Aw, that'd be awesome.
Very nice, very nice.
That would work.
And that voice right there is our guest geek this week. We usually don't announce our guest geek yet, but I will in case because you piped in already there, Gregor. So our guest geek this week, he is one of the former co-hosts of What We're Watching Weekly, the show on Spreecast.com, and he is the co-founder of the new Else Nerds Network, home of the shows What Else Is On and Else Nerds 616. He's also co-captain of the What We're Watching Weekly team for our summer movie draft, which I'm sure that you've heard us mention if you've watched or listened to previous show. Welcome back to Galactic Netcasts and the SciFi Geeks Club, Mr. Gregor Sprague.
Woohoo! Yay!
Yay, hang on one second. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the soundboard is broken for some reason tonight. At least I think it is. I haven't tried this one yet for this show. The soundboard was broken for the alien invasion, so let me see if this one actually comes up and plays for me. And you'd think I would know where my sound effects were on my computer. Nope. I have no idea.
That's when you do a search.
I don't know how to do a computer search.
Aw, you should look that up in Linux.
Ubuntu is a little bit different from Windows. They do things like backwards.
Oh, trust me, I've heard a crap ton about Ubuntu and Linux in general because I was around a lot of physicists, and a couple of them were a bit over the top for Ubuntu and Linux in general. So.
Okay, let's try this. Let's see if this plays here. Nope, not playing. Okay, so. Thank you. There you go. There's your fanfare, Gregor. Welcome to the Sci-Fi Geeks Club. So, do you want to talk about real quick before we get into the show your brand new network, the Else Nerds Network? What's it all about?
Well, basically, we sort of rolled it out of what we're watching weekly, because what we're watching weekly, we felt like that was sort of like yours and Glenn's baby, and we wanted to get, sort of make that, we being me and Corey Scott, we wanted to make our own thing, and this was with Corey's permission, or not Corey. We asked Corey, but no, we asked Glenn if this was okay to do What Else Is On, the what being in tribute to What We're Watching Weekly, of course, that being the TV shows and movies, and then Else Nerd 616 being our comic book show.
Okay.
And then the network, of course, being the all-encompassing, much like Galactic Netcasts with you guys. So that's basically, the gist of things. And then, of course, What We're Watching Weekly will reign supreme as its final last stand here in the movie draft.
Okay, so that show is done then. What We're Watching Weekly is done. Okay, all right.
Yes.
Okay. So are you guys just on YouTube? Or are you going to have an audio version as a podcast, or what's the future look like for Else Nerds?
Right now we're gonna do YouTube. We might break it on audio if we can. Because right now we're just two knuckleheads who are trying to figure things out as we do it. And so, I'm pretty sure it's if we could sit down with people who know and have done things a little bit better, who might know, or maybe are sitting in front, maybe in their garage in the Great White North.
I don't know who you're talking about, Gregor. I have no idea who that reference would be to.
I don't know. He might have gotten a nickname on a website called Spreecast named Tasteful Dave.
Tasteful Dave, yes.
Yeah, maybe that guy.
Yeah. I would recommend that you guys just stick with YouTube. It's just so much easier. Podcasts are a pain in the ass because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time consuming. So just stick with YouTube. You'll be fine.
Yeah, but other than that, I mean, What Else Is On? It's basically, if you ever watched What We're Watching Weekly, it's basically the same show as What Else Is On is basically the same show. We're still doing starts and stops. We're still doing the movie draft update while we're doing the movie draft. Which, if you guys are still cool, we would probably do the winter movie draft when Night Attack does their movie draft, except hopefully not teams, because looking at the things, I've never seen scores this high before.
Okay.
Higher than a Snoop Dogg concert.
So yeah, there's less movies too, so teams don't make as much sense for the winter movie draft. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay. So one more question before we actually get the show going here. When does the comic book show start?
We're gonna do an alpha this Saturday at probably 9 or 9:30 Eastern time, and then like 6 or 6:30 in the Pacific.
AM or PM?
PM. Sorry.
Okay. All right.
Forgot time zones.
Where can people watch that?
On youtube.com/elsenerds show.
Okay.
Or elsenerds.com.
Okay. Oh, you got the URL. Awesome.
Yes.
Cool.
Corey just dives right in, and he is on top of that.
All right. Looking forward to watching you guys grow. It's awesome. I love the fact that you guys are branching out on your own and doing new stuff. That's cool.
Oh yeah.
All right. So before we get into new business, let's talk about old business. And Brad is here to read the minutes from the last meeting of the Sci-Fi Geeks Club. What did we talk about last time, Brad?
Our pseudo guest geek was Douglas Quaid.
Yeah, what a cool was that? Oh my! I couldn't believe we got Douglas Quaid from Mars to be our guest on the Sci-Fi Geeks Club. That was awesome.
I guess he was looking for something to do.
I was just really taken aback by his personality.
Yeah. It was so much like Matt's.
A little bit. Okay, so our first story was the League of Legends, now a college sport. And in Matt's story, it was colleges and some high schools have actually created school teams, and there are scholarships available for those who can play games like League of Legends very well for their school tournaments, or to represent their school, which is really unusual, interesting, and something that we really needed to talk about. My story was how in 1937 there was a great deal of fear that science fiction writing was going downhill. That science fiction...
Brad, put the pince nez on.
Sorry. So for those of you who are actually watching the video, I am wearing the pince nez. That back in 1937, science fiction had really gone downhill. And some young upstart named Arthur C. Clarke said, "No, it isn't," because this is 1937. All right, so pince nez is now off. All right.
You need to get a bowler hat, too.
I actually have a bowler hat in my garage.
That would complete
I was going to say, I've seen that.
Yes. The story that Dave brought to the table was Sci-Fi Channel is developing John Scalzi's Old Man's War book series into a future set military series, and that is being called... there we go.
Yeah, it's the second book, right?
Yeah, it's called Ghost Brigades.
Yeah.
So yeah, very interesting. And John Scalzi has written. The one big book that he wrote was what, Red Shirt?
Red Shirts.
Yeah, Red Shirts.
He's written a lot of stuff.
Red Shirts. Yeah.
Yeah, but Red Shirts, I think, if you were to talk to the geek community, you go Red Shirts, and they go, "Oh yeah."
I don't know. I think Red Shirts is very popular amongst like the less geeky people.
Oh,
but
see.
I think amongst the geekier
Hipster
people,
girlfriend.
I say this because Old Man's War was recommended to me years and years and years ago. And I've heard other people throughout the years talking about it, and less so about Red Shirts. I think Red Shirts, not to sound like a hipster, would be like more mainstream. So, hipster girlfriend.
Hipster girlfriend. All right. For those of you who don't know, Anessa is my girlfriend. All right. And last but certainly not least, Anessa brought the story to the table that Tommy Lee Jones is joining the cast of the science fiction thriller movie called Criminal. And in this film, memories are actually transplanted into the head of an individual, and Tommy Lee Jones is playing a neuroscientist who is a part of this. So.
And we talked about how none of us could see Tommy Lee Jones as a neuroscientist.
Pretty much.
You know,
just
looking at.
Oh, go ahead.
Looking at. I'm going to pull this up here so folks can take. Looking at. Come on, there we go. Looking at this picture of an older Tommy Lee Jones, if you put rounder glasses on him and put him in a lab coat, oh yeah, that reeks of neuroscience.
I think the main thing is like he can pull off the look. It's just you don't really hear him in movie roles with really big words.
And maybe he's reached an age where he's like, you know, that's on my bucket list of things to do.
I want to be a smart guy.
Maybe he's been like going through a dictionary. I could just see him preparing for this role and just trying to master these big words that he's going to have to say on this show because he's never done it before in any of his other movie roles.
He's used some pretty big words in the Men in Black movies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess he was kind of nerdy in... Was it Volcano? I get those mixed up. Dante's Peak was with Pierce Brosnan, right?
Yes.
What is that?
It's a
pyroclastic cloud.
That's the whole Deep Impact Armageddon thing.
This one was like not so much Deep Impact Armageddon. It was just like the Earth is exploding.
Yeah, no, but I was
yeah,
the whole...
it was kind of the Doomsday thing, but yeah, he was in that. I don't remember much from it though, so I don't remember his vocabulary in Volcano. I just remember Dante's Peak, and there's a scene where Pierce Brosnan and the lady are in the truck and they're driving, and there's like this cloud of fire and ash, and the lady was like, "What is that?" As if you can't see that it's a cloud of fire and ash. And Pierce Brosnan was like, "It's a pyroclastic cloud!" Because he had to sound smart. And that just kind of drove me nuts.
That is fun.
Arr, it's driving me nuts.
Yarr.
All right, cool. So that's your old business. That's what we talked about last week. Let's move on to our new business, our new stories. And Gregor, cover your ears. We're going to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy.
Actually, I'm looking at this, and there are no spoilers in here.
Okay, just to clarify with what I just said, so people aren't confused. Gregor has not seen. He's the only person in the whole world who has Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, he's the only person in the whole room that's not seen it. So
Yeah,
Okay.
in this particular hangout, yes. So the story that I'm bringing here is from EmpireOnline.com, and they did an interview with James Gunn, and one of the big questions that we have as things wrap up is, who is Peter Quill's actual father? It's mentioned at the beginning of the film, and it's mentioned towards the end of the film. The question is kind of loosely posed. And in the comics, it's a being known as Jason of Spartax, and he's the emperor of the Spartoi Empire, which is obviously a very far away from us, and they are a very if you have the name of Spartax, it calls to mind Spartan, and they are a very aggressive alien race. They are conquerors. So, but what James Gunn said is, as they were writing the movie, that was a question that they had to have answered. So James Gunn knows who it is, and a couple of other people do. And what's going to end up happening in the second movie is we're actually going to get that question addressed. And some people have said, "Oh, I bet you it's Thanos." No, James Gunn has said it's not. No, it's not Thanos. We've seen what Thanos' children are like, what they look like, and no, it is not. It is not him.
And it's a lot of the speculation in the movie is that it's why can't I think of his name?
Adam Warlock.
Yes, Adam Warlock. Thank you. Because his cocoon is shown in the collector's scene, right?
Yep, at the end of Thor to the Dark World, we do see a cocoon-like structure, and it's the same cocoon-like structure that has been seen in the comics when he has been beaten horribly to near death, and he regenerates in a cocoon. So there's a lot of speculation that that could be the case. And if you're going to have something with the Infinity Gems, Adam Warlock really needs to show up.
Yeah. Now you guys have all seen the movie. Could it not? And I'm reading the comics. I know. And I'm reading Guardians. I'm reading Legendary Star-Lord. All amazing. And I'm reading. I declare it now. I am a member of the Carol Corps. All of which have Peter Quill in here, and it mentions and it shows that Jason is the father. You don't need Maury to show up and say, "Jason, you are the father," sort of deal here. Would it make sense for it to be someone else? For someone else to be there?
In the MCU stuff, the Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff, has not strictly adhered to canon. And in the grand scheme of things, you would be introducing an element that I don't think you could really start to build beyond and get more esoteric until you have firmly built the outer universe of the Marvel cinematic universe, essentially. And right now, the core of the films have dealt with Earth and the heroes that are on Earth. This is the first time that we're seeing space and Marvel in space and what that is like, and we're starting to get introduced to those beings, but I don't think that you could jump into, hey, here's this whole space empire that's too much and doesn't feel like what they've been slowly building on with Marvel, with the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I guess with my question is with Jason, because this James Gunn says that he knows who the daddy is, and if it is Jason, we know that, okay, boom, this adds depth instantly, and this would be, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 or maybe even 3. But if it's someone else, do you think you could have that depth, that same depth, with Peter Quill?
There needs to be depth, but it also needs to eventually tie back to the Earthbound stuff. And what I guess one thing that I'm desperately not trying to tell you, Gregor, is there is a character in the film that talks a little bit about his dad and what his dad sort of looked like.
Okay.
And if we are to follow that character's interpretation, that character's understanding, it doesn't match.
Okay.
It does not match.
By the way, good job kind of going around that a little bit.
and it's kind of a deal. That's why I did not want to wreck that for you.
No, yeah.
And then and this isn't wrecking anything either, because in the comics, Yondu is sort of his father figure, or at least someone that he's run with in the past that is sort of close to him. So that's where he gets more of his pirate instincts from when he was, in the business, and now that he's created sort of the Guardians of the Galaxy, he's now running a little bit more of the straight and narrow. So,
can I interject something real quick? Just a general observation here. You're talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and thinking and just kind of thinking about the slight changes they've made from the comics. That kind of goes along with the way the comic universe is done, right? Because there's so many, they can change things. Yeah. They have changed things. They're going to continue to change things. So it's not a surprise that they would change things in the cinematic universe, because that's what they've been doing in the comic universe since the very beginning, right?
Yeah, it's called retconning. It's sort of like retroactively fixing canon material to fit the needs that you might have in a story. And even the story of Peter Quill in the comics, they changed a couple of things from his first appearance that are actually very important to the character and character's development. So they were kind of a big deal when they were changed. But Peter Quill now, as a character, as Star-Lord, obviously with the movie, has definitely catapulted that character a little bit more front and center in the Marvel comic universe. So we're seeing a bit more of him there. So,
did you guys see that the #1 comic, the best-selling comic in July, was Rocket Raccoon?
Rocket Raccoon, and rightfully so, because the way, and that was one of the big concerns that everybody had in the movie of Rocket is a small raccoon-like bipedal creature who talks. And you talk about the uncanny valley, and that is kind of That's a term that's used for something that is done in 3D, and we've seen it in like Polar Express. The human brain looks at another being that is talking, that is moving, that is doing something, and is interacting with you, and if it doesn't quite look right, there is a point at which either your character is purposely designed to not look human, or needs to be designed to be exactly human. If it falls somewhere between those two, when you see that, you actually have a response that is uncontrollable, that your brain is like, that is completely unreal and is very creepy. So if you watch the Polar Express, you have moments of that where you're like, that there's something wrong there, and you feel that almost a bit of anxiety. Some people report feeling like strong bouts of anxiety when they see something like that is supposed to be human but isn't.
They usually go to the eyes. They usually say dead eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
And Rocket Raccoon is more human looking than any of the characters in what was the movie you mentioned?
Oh, Polar Express.
Polar Express, yeah.
So I guess the point I'm trying to make is because Rocket Raccoon is a bipedal raccoon that talks, you circumvent a bit of that uncanny valley, but the other part too is they did such great work with the fur, with the lighting, with the facial movements, so you actually kind of believe that this creature can talk. It's and the scripting for that character and Bradley Cooper's voice, it's just like the perfect marriage of making that character really, really work well. So that concern that people had is completely blown away. And he's actually, because of this, has kind of jumped forward as being a very likable and interesting character, and that's really kind of transferred into comic sales. So good for Marvel.
All right. We have a comic book sandwich in our stories this week. So do you want to just kind of put the comic book talk on hold for a second? We'll talk about a couple other things and then swing back around, because Greg has a story about the comics on the other side. So is there anything you want to add left in that story, Brad?
No, I think we really kind of wrapped up a lot of that. The other bit is Thanos going to be big in the second film? He is going to show up, but he's not going to be the major focus of that. And I kind of think that they're holding back on having him be a major focus until Avengers 3.
Yeah, it's going to be a long time.
Yeah.
I hope that what's the voice of Thanos?
Oh, Josh Brolin.
I
don't think he's just voice though.
Between now and Avengers 3.
I don't think he's just going to be the voice. I think he's going to be in like full-on makeup.
I maybe when they get to that point, but at least in this film, he just did the voice.
Yeah. Well, because I think it was a similar thing with I know Gru and Rocket. They did Rocket was actually done by James Gunn's brother when they were shooting. They actually did James Gunn's brother did the voice over stuff because like Gamora and I'm blanking on her name, Zoe Saldana and Batista, they actually said that I did actually preferred no offense to Bradley Cooper, but I preferred James Gunn's brother because that's who was the voice.
That was Sean Gunn, I think.
Yeah, Sean Gunn. And I'm like, hey, but who you like?
But and really what they end up doing, and this has happened before, that they've gone for the bigger name recognition. Like Sean Gunn, not going to put many butts in the seats, but Bradley Cooper, well, there you got you got an Academy Award winner.
And he did a really good job. He was very convincing. Like he was Rocket Raccoon for me. So much so that the cartoon show, like Amazing Spider-Man, they had Guardians of the Galaxy in there, or not Amazing Spider-Man, but Ultimate Spider-Man, the cartoon show. I'm like, would have been better with Bradley Cooper. All right, let's move on to the second story, and it's something that I brought to the table. I never know how to pronounce this guy's name.
Michael Straczynski.
Straczynski, yes. Michael Straczynski is bringing Babylon 5 back to life with a movie reboot in 2016. For the longest time, there's been rumors going around that they are bringing Babylon 5 back, but this is for reals. TV Wise is reporting that he's actively writing a script with hopes to wrap up a final draft by the end of 2015 and ramp up production in 2016. The project is reportedly a reboot of the Babylon 5 concept and not a continuation of the original series, which I am very thankful for because it's kind of hard to bring TV actors to the big screen sometimes. I mean, Star Trek was successful and they failed. They did both. And these actors are getting older. So that series ran from 1994 to 1998. Although he is talking about bringing Bruce Boxleitner and Mira Furlan. Is it Mira Furlan?
Furlan.
Which character did she play in that series?
She played I forget the alien race with the. She had the ridges on the head. She became a kind of a hybrid. She ended up getting the long hair. She was bald and she had the kind of the head ridge.
Oh.
You know, Bill. God, I can't remember the name of the race now. Bad fan.
I think you're the only one on this panel that really watched Babylon 5, unless Gregor watched it. I don't know. Did you?
Nope. Too busy watching Spider-Man at that time.
Okay.
What's really funny is at that time, I had my VCR had died, and I wasn't making much money at the time, and I ended up getting a beta recorder, and I ended up having beta videotapes filled with Babylon 5, and then I was recording X-Files at that time.
That's funny. That's really funny.
Yep, I was 5 when it started and 9 when it ended. So I was watching Power Rangers, Spider-Man, all that, like the Fox Saturday morning stuff.
And Babylon 5 would have been a little bit too adult for you too. I mean, I think it had some really complex, deep stories.
Yep.
All right. Well, I was to be honest, I was more of a Deep Space Nine person. I did watch a few episodes, never watched it, and there was a point a couple of years ago that I was about to watch Babylon 5 because it was all available on Netflix, and then they pulled it. They pulled it off of Netflix.
Right as we were starting to watch.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god, terrible timing. And
so
I was
basically, basically, what you're telling me is I should probably jump in on the whole Justice League marathon I've been doing.
Yeah, I would watch it before it's gone. Watch it while you can, definitely. Yeah, and Babylon 5. Brad, would you recommend watching the first season because it had a different commander?
Yeah, but it made sense with the story. Knowing what I know now, thinking back at that time, watching that first season, and then they made a change, and you're going, I don't get it. They end up explaining it in season 2 a bit better, and you come to understand what's going on and why it happened, and it's a punch in the face, and it makes you go, Straczynski really thought this out, and when what happens, that is the full explanation. It's amazing.
Wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that there was a big mystery.
There is, and I don't want to give anything away, but it's worth watching, absolutely. And it's the first show that I can think of that actually had proper physics in space fighting.
Wow, okay.
So, like, if a ship was moving in a forward momentum, if they did a space battle, they would spin the ship 180 degrees around, but they would still be moving in that same direction. So, I mean, they really sat down and thought about actual, honest-to-God physics, and really applied strict rules and really adhered to them. So the space battles that they do, and thinking, I mean, this is 94. This was all done in CG. and it's spectacular what they did. What they did at that time was spectacular. So I highly recommend it.
I wonder if it's available anywhere online, streaming-wise. I know it's not on Netflix. I wonder if it's on Amazon Prime. Do you know, Anessa, if it's on Amazon Prime? You have Amazon Prime, right?
I do. I'd have to look it up.
Okay. All right.
It's not a show that I've ever seen or really looked into.
The awesome part of this whole story is Straczynski actually owns the rights to Babylon 5. Like it's not owned by any particular studio. He wants Warner Brothers to do it because they did the original series, but if he has to, he's going to bankroll the whole thing or get it funded somehow, and do it through his own studio JMS.
Yeah, and Straczynski wrote Spider-Man for Marvel for quite a period of time. Although I do blame him for the spider clone crap. That's horrible. But anyway.
Well, and he's doing stuff right now at Image, I believe, as well.
Oh, I didn't know he was a comic guy.
Yeah.
Well, he was a writer, and then this is a funny story about him. He went to college, and his passion was writing, and he had a professor that said, "You will never make anything out of your writing. You're horrible, blah, 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 blah." And the first script that he sold, that he successfully made money off of, he printed out a copy of it, found the grave of the professor, and took a stick and plunged it into the ground by his grave and kind of made a little hole and then crammed the script into the hole in utter defiance and to get closure for that. Because he was pretty bitter about that.
That's funny. That's really funny.
It's creepy weird, but it's funny.
Indeed.
So
no, it's not on Amazon.
Okay, all right. I'm sure you can rent or buy it.
You can rent it on Amazon or purchase it, but you cannot stream it as part of Prime.
That's a lot of episodes to pay for. I wonder if you can buy like I know on iTunes they do season passes. Can you like rent?
That's essentially buying the season.
Okay.
So if you buy the entire season, then it gives you a small discount off of each episode. Rather than purchasing the episode outright, but even the discount's usually fairly small unless they just happen to have a promo going, and at that point I would just suggest looking at Amazon Prime. Sometimes iTunes has sales on things, and probably Google Play. I assume they have TV shows.
You really want
or it could fall off the internet. I mean, I'm not going to say you should do it, but that's an option too, and that's what Dave's hinting at.
Yeah.
But
it might fall off the back of a truck. You don't know. You don't ask questions.
So, and you never know. Like Best Buy might have a sale one day where you can pick up the first season for like $15, and I think that would be a really good deal. So you never know.
All right. So maybe in preparation for the big film in 20. Whatever, start watching it. By that time, you might be done watching the series because you got how many? You got 4 seasons plus a bunch of made-for-TV movies, right, Brad?
Yeah, there was at least 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
It would be cool to. I can't wait to see what this show will look like on the big screen in 27, in using the technology we have today, and using the special effects that we have today, how it's going to change, what it's going to look like compared to the original, that kind of thing. All right, there you go. Babylon.
And real quick, in the comic books, he's done Superman Earth 1, for DC as probably one of the most notable. The Brave and the Bold. For Brad mentioned the Marvel. He's done some Icon stuff. The Image stuff is what I was actually looking up, which I'm not finding. But I know there's Image work that he's done.
And I'm sure that he's written he's written for, because I know Babylon 5 had their own comic book for a while.
Yeah,
Right?
that's the other one. That it was published through DC actually.
All right. All right. Awesome. All right. Let's move on to Anessa story. Anessa, what do you have?
I don't know. I have to bring up the document.
You should have this stuff memorized. Come on.
Ed
I
Harris
should.
George,
Okay,
Bad
I
Robots
do.
Westworld.
Yes, Westworld on HBO. So, this show is really coming together with its casting. The cast of HBO and Bad Robots Westworld continues to reveal an impressive range of acting talent. The Hollywood Reporter mentioned that Ed Harris has signed on opposite to Sir Anthony Hopkins, James Marsden, Evan Rachel Wood, and a bunch of other people. It's like this huge long list. I could read them all, but meh. So, The Westworld is basically a remake. It's based on a 1973 film that was both written by and directed by Michael Crichton, and it takes place in a future amusement park wherein visitors interact with androids in recreations of famous historical environments. When something goes wrong, however, the androids turn deadly.
No.
And
No.
surprise!
Don't say it. Say it so.
But yeah, so apparently Ed Harris is supposed to be a bad guy known as the Man in Black, and he's said to be the personification of pure evil. HBO has already planned a series pilot, or at least they have one committed, with Jonah Nolan directing the pilot and writing alongside his wife, who happens to be one of the writers for Burn Notice, Lisa Joy. And there's no word that I could find yet on to when they'll actually get things going production-wise and when it'll be.
Nolan, is that a Christopher Nolan's brother?
I have no idea. Probably
Maybe
not.
a different. If it is,
I think
maybe
it's a different
brother.
family.
Okay.
Same. Like, that's what the internet is for.
I know Christopher Nolan's got a bunch of brothers that are also like producers and stuff.
It's not, well, if it is a brother, it's not like the other famous brother that was doing something else. And with Lisa Joy, maybe it's not she didn't really write a lot on the last season of Burn Notice that completely sucked.
Oh, I forgot. Gregor's a big Burn Notice fan.
Yeah, the last season sucked horribly. Oh, I don't even think I watched all of it.
No, maybe he is.
Oh gosh, yeah, sorry.
So apparently he is a brother to Christopher Nolan, but he goes by Jonah, but his name's Jonathan
Weird.
Nolan, and he's the
Oh,
older brother to Christopher. So.
He did something big, popular. That was popular last season, or this past season or two.
Christopher or
Jonathan.
Career. He
On
did the
TV.
co-screenplay for Dark Knight Rises, Interstellar, co-written, 2014.
Another Christopher Nolan joint. So he's working a lot with his brother, it sounds like. The Prestige.
Yeah, he's done the television show Person of Interest.
Okay.
That's it.
It's funny that he's working with J.J. Abrams, who I believe also had... No, I'm thinking of... who did Lost? Yeah, that was J.J. Abrams.
Yep.
J.J. Abrams, and then the dude who's doing... Oh crap! I'm blanking on his name. He was doing
Doing what?
The Leftovers.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Oh.
We're going down a really deep rabbit hole here. Let's get back on track. Let's focus, people.
So Westworld, we don't know when it's coming out, but it's got a bunch of different talents. So.
Yeah, it's got really good talent behind it.
Yeah, it's got a really good cast. So.
Yeah.
I just wish they kind of gave an ETA as to when they think it might come out. So maybe 2015, 2016?
Yeah, sounds about
2015
right.
probably, I would guess. Since they already have a bulk of the cast lined up. I don't know how far along they are with writing, but...
Yeah, if they got this much of the cast already put in place, I'm thinking that it's not that far off from production and getting on the air.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So.
HBO is really vague about their release, like their premiere dates. They're at least a brand new series. They never really, they kind of spring it on you really when it comes down to it.
Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, we're maybe gonna do this thing and we're gonna not talk about it, and then hey, guess what? It's coming out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Maybe not that quick, but they don't really talk about it a whole lot between when they announce it and when it actually comes out.
Yeah.
They will post, maybe some commercials, but it's nothing big. So.
Well, then they'll post the pilot on YouTube.
Yeah. So that's how they try to get people sucked in. Now, if they would make their HBO to go or HBO Go service payable for just anyone, then they would get a lot of money like that. But then the cable company would lose out on a lot of money too, because then nobody would actually pay for the extra digital packages.
Exactly. So. That's why never going to happen.
And I know it's never going to happen, but if HBO Go had a streaming service like Netflix or Prime or Hulu, I would totally pay for it.
Well, their older shows are now available through Amazon Prime, right?
They are now, yes.
Yeah. So they're dipping their toes into it a little bit.
And I'm glad that Amazon was able to hang out with them, because there for a while when Prime was really getting started, a lot of what you found on Prime was on Netflix. And now I'm starting to see differences between what the two offer. And it's not just like one crappy movie to another. It's like, oh, hey, these are really good TV shows, really good series, or really good movies that Netflix might not have, or they'll get them before Netflix, which is also really interesting too. So I've started watching Orphan Black, and then a friend of mine was like, hey, Orphan Black's coming to Netflix. I'm like, already watching it on Prime.
Bam!
Bam!
All right.
So it's like, thanks for the heads up, but Prime's got me covered for the moment.
I'm just looking forward to all the great science fiction that's going to be coming out in the next couple of years. I mean, Sci-Fi alone's got a bunch of shows in the chamber, ready to shoot.
Yeah, that's what I sort of had to do with Corey on towards the winding down of what we're watching weekly. Is I had to differentiate between the crap and the good stuff on Sci-Fi on Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah.
Because it's like, so what's this one? I'm like, no, this is a good one. This one was made in Canada.
All the good sci-fi shows are made in Canada. There
yeah,
you go.
like Continuum, like how you mentioned from the minutes last, I think it was the minutes last week, where it got better, or like Lost Girl was a better one, not the Sci-Fi originals where it's basically they sort of all blend together, and I'm like, crap, not gonna watch it.
Sci-Fi, it sounds like they're doubling down on some really good shows coming soon. So
yeah,
we'll see if that happens.
Yeah,
all right,
definitely.
Let's wrap up the news this week with Gregor's story. What do you got, man?
Yeah, so this one I originally found from the Nerdist on their video from the Dan Cave. This is the Inhumans movie, A Possibility for Phase 3. And I got this from Collider.com. And basically the article...
Hang on one second. Let me interrupt. Can you explain the Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, both between Gregor and Brad?
Okay. So basically you want to nerd off.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Let's go.
Okay. Ding, 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 not one fight. All right, so basically, Phase 1 was it was setting up, and it all led up to the Avengers. So it was Iron Man, I think what was it? Ed Norton's Hulk was in there.
Yep.
Thor, Captain America, the First Avenger. Is there any other one I'm missing?
That's all.
That's it.
Yeah, and then it led up to the Avengers. And that one was Phase 1, Avengers Assemble. And then you had then you had Phase 2, which was the sequels. Winter Soldier, or No, not Winter Soldier. Yeah, Winter Soldier, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah.
Winter Soldier, which is what we're in right now, I believe. Winter
Yep.
Soldier, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3 is in there, I believe, too. Or no, Iron Man 3 is coming out next month. Sorry. Brad, take over anytime you feel like it.
Iron Man 2 was
Iron
before the Avengers, right?
Yep, Iron Man 3 is a part of Phase 2.
Is part of Phase, yeah. Winter Soldier. I'm blanking here.
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man. All the movies post Avengers, so that have come out.
So Guardians would be Phase 2.
Phase 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's probably not helping that I'm looking at a Dark Knight Rises poster trying to gather my thoughts.
So Phase 2 films, Phase 2 films, Thor: The Dark World, Iron Man 3, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, and then Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
So now that Guardians has come out, next summer when we get Avengers: Age of Ultron, that's when Phase 2 ends.
Yeah. And Kevin Feige, the Marvel Studios president, so the film president, not the comic book president, he's been a big fan of the Inhumans for a while. And basically, Dan, what's his name? Dan Casey over at Nerdist, he said this for since Fox Studios has the rights to the X-Men, basically Marvel's the cinematic universe, they sort of need a group of ragtag mutants. I'm using mutants in quotes here for you audio listeners, to sort of round up, to fill in for people. And keep in mind, and Brad can back me up here on this, that Quicksilver for a while was an Inhuman. He had the Terrigon Mist that gave him the power, his speed powers. So he could sort of, in the cinematic universe, he could sort of tie in with them in a ways with this.
Well,
sort of.
I think with how they've defined things in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he is a creation of Loki's scepter.
Yeah, that would. But I mean, they could sort of throw him in here as well to guide him in there, and this could also sort of tie in with the cosmic as well. Like I could see them tying the Inhumans in here with the cosmic. And the other day, and what made me actually really go, oh, here, this would help, is the other day Vin Diesel dropped a hint that he wanted to be a part of the Inhumans. Now, Vin Diesel, to tie this all together, is the voice of Groot, the lovable character that only says 5 words. And the one that everyone's sort of thinking that he would probably play is Black Bolt, the Inhuman King, who is known for not ever talking because his voice is dangerous.
What's with all of Vin Diesel's roles either being limited talking or no talking?
The thing about Black Bolt, though, if you were to play him as a character, all of your performance would be in your face.
Yeah.
Everything that Black Bolt does is by gesture and by facial expression.
Yeah,
that
that's
would be,
true.
I think if you were an actor, that would be such a tremendous challenge to do something like that I think a good actor would chomp at the bit for the opportunity to do that.
Definitely. Definitely. And so, I mean, it's like whoever... I don't know who... if they did cast Vin Diesel, that would be a great role for him. Like a make-or-break role, to be honest. To see, I mean, because one, he's got the physique for Black Bolt because he's big, muscular, but it's like you just said, it's all facial expressions. He does talk in there, but when he talks, it's super destructive. And again, going back to the cartoon shows, there was a Hulk in Agents of Smash where he does talk, he whispers at the end. and the dome that they're entrapped in Epsilon, destruction from whisper, from just, or actually he says war, or whispers war, and it's like poof, gone. But this is honestly the big part I like is it can be this whole big whole connector between Guardians and the Avengers on Earth, and all of it is the Inhumans because of how they're created. They're created by the Kree, from way before our time.
Yep.
And the script, there's a script from the Marvel in-house scriptwriters that's rumored to be made, much like Guardians was. It was, according to sources, Marvel plans to handle the Inhumans the same way they handled Guardians of the Galaxy. This is quoted from the Collider. The original draft for Guardians was written by Nicole Perlman, who was part of Marvel writing program. That draft went out to the filmmakers. James Gunn came on board, added his flavor and details of the story, but the characters and story structure, and beats from Perlman's draft remain the same. And so that's what they're hoping is with the Inhumans thing, it'll stay the same, and nothing else will happen. And just like someone else will find it, and it'll go out, and we will get Inhumans movies. Because I think yeah, go ahead, Dave.
No, I was gonna say, no. Continue what you're gonna say. I'll ask the question after you're done.
Because I think, what is it? Marvel has, out of their, 24 movies that they announced at Comic-Con this year, they have, 12 that they didn't announce actual movies for. So Inhumans could fit one of these spots.
Yeah. Yeah, and DC did this, and DC going, oh, well, we've got dates, too. It's like, okay.
It's like, okay, guys, you're both beautiful. You're both beautiful. We love you each the same.
Are you guys worried that we're gonna get too much comic book movies? That it's just gonna be people are gonna get burnt out?
No. Well, and I read this somewhere on the internet, and it made a good point. If it was just Marvel making movies, if it was just Marvel Studios making movies, a studio can only manufacture so many movies at one point in time by necessity of the size of the staff that you have and by the amount of money that you have available to you. Okay, so there is an actual benefit to Marvel Studios having most of their characters, and Fox having some of the characters, and Sony having some of the characters. And if they actually get their crap together and can make solid movies, that would be good for the movie viewer. Does that make sense? All of them have their own stabs, their own production studios, and they can all make movies and be pretty together. It's just, I think at the point where there would be burnout is if studios don't care about quality and they just care about cash flow.
Okay.
That's at the point where I think that there would be burnout because there's not good material actually being created and made.
Yeah. I mean, I think there was, I forget which one it was, if it was Marvel or DC, where it was like 1 year it was rumored that there was going to be 3 movies coming out, and if it was Marvel, it's not including the Fox or Sony their movies, and I'm like, then that's where I start to worry. But right now it's like, no, I don't see theirs, because with Marvel, there's 75 years of backstory we can go with. With DC, there's 75 years of Batman stories alone you can go on. I mean, we have this expansive catalog of the stories that they can tell. I mean, mainly they have to man up and admit that they can have a leading woman. They can have a Wonder Woman movie, and it will make money. They can admit that it doesn't have to be a dude leading, or whatever it is, and it'll make money, you know. And they don't have to do, oh, we're going to lose the rights to Spider-Man. We need to do another origin story. No, you don't. Just continue on the adventures.
You know what? And I think they proved it with Guardians of the Galaxy that if it's written well, if it's filmed well, you can pretty much do almost any comic book story, and people will go to the movie theater to check it out.
Oh yeah, like I mean, the big thing is like there was another rumor out that Sony is planning on doing an all-girl Spider-Man movie, or Spider-Man in the Spider-Man universe movie, and I'm like, do it, because that's not only is it in the Marvel universe, but it's outside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Prove both DC and Marvel wrong in that it can be done, and they can't do anything about it.
And they're going to do the Sinister Six, so why not do all female? Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, it's like, I mean, this is what me and Corey will talk about ad nauseum.
Yeah.
On doing fully cheap pops. Yeah.
So if you want all comics all the time, then check out Else Nerds. What's it called?
Else Nerd 616.
Okay, cool. All right. I wanted to ask a real quick question, then we'll kind of wrap up the news portion. So Marvel can get away with doing Inhumans. They're not technically mutants, right?
Correct.
Is that why?
Yes. They were created in the, what was it, the 60s or 70s?
No, the Inhumans were pre-X-Men, right?
I believe so. I saw it on the Nerdist. They actually broke it down in the history of the on the episode of the Den Cave. Sorry. Where they broke it down, and it was just one of these things. I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is great. We don't even really need the X-Men. It's just the X-Men were more popular, but it's very much two of the similar things. I mean, they're both. It both just sort of happens as both genetic, and like it happens at the same time. Both at a random things, like with the Tarragon Mist. Like it could either be a power or it could just be like a defect.
Yeah.
Same thing with the mutant chromosome thing. Like it can either be a power or it can just sort of be a curse. But I'm trying to go through and see where it says in the article, so I don't have to play the video.
Because I think that the X-Men were 63? Yeah, X-Men were 63 and the Inhumans were 65.
Oh, okay. All right.
So they were created post-X-Men.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
But
okay,
definitely a Jack Kirby creation.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that pretty much does it for comic book talk for this week. I enjoyed it. I always get a lot out of hearing people discuss comic books. It's interesting to me. So, thanks, guys. I'm going to make a kind of a decision mid-show here. We started last week with this Sci-Fi Geeks quiz, and since Matt is not here, and since we are going way long, I'm going to kind of put the kibosh on the Sci-Fi Geeks quiz for this week. But tune in next week for another exciting round of science fiction questions for all the guests to answer. And Andy Weir, the author of The Martian, is going to be our guest geek next week, and hopefully he will jump in with the questions as well. That's going to be fun. So if you're into great science fiction, and if you read The Martian, make sure that you listen next week for Andy Weir as our guest geek, and he'll be answering some questions on the Sci-Fi Geeks quiz. That's going to be fun. All right, so that's going to do it. Before we wrap things up, since Gregor is here and the official representative for the What We're Watching Weekly team on the summer movie draft, we want to kind of do a wrap-up since it is pretty much done, right? There's not going to be a whole lot of movement left.
We don't know how much money the movies are going to continue to make between now and September. Thank you very much. You're just lucky that they included April for the summer.
Okay, let's talk about where we're at now. Who's where right now on the summer movie draft?
You just want it to end so you could be the winner. Is basically what it is.
Well, Matt and I declared ourselves winners last week, so it's in our minds, it's done and we're the winners.
So why are you asking?
So with the updated from boxofficedraft.com, Team Hondo is in third with $1 billion and $8 million. Team What We're Watching Weekly is in second place with, actually I don't think that changed. Yeah, with close enough. That's on there with $1.2 billion dollars. Sorry, and then Team Car Ramrod is still in first place with $1.28 million or billion dollars. Sorry, numbers are fun. But there are still 4 more weeks to go in the draft before it is officially over. And Dave, I don't think you heard my wild prediction that I shared with Brad and Anessa.
I don't think I did. What is it?
I made this 2, maybe 3 weeks ago on What We're Watching Weekly. I made this wild prediction that by the end of the draft, we would all be within like $1,000 of each other.
Do you think it's going to happen? Is there a possibility that this may actually happen?
I think so.
You never know.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Because, I mean, there are still quite a few movies that are still out there in the theater, so they're still bringing in income.
The thing about, like, Captain America is Captain America made...
It's still in theaters!
$260 million and that's over this entire summer. Yeah, Gregor's right. That's been contributing little bits and pieces throughout the summer for you. So looking at the graph that we have with us having Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Guardians of the Galaxy, our leap up that we had between those two movies has been a more dramatic incline than what you had with the beginning with Captain America and Rio 2. Those are your 2 big movies right out of the gate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I was really surprised at how well Ninja Turtles did. I didn't think anybody would go see it.
Well, here's the thing with Ninja Turtles, though. That speaks to a lot of people, especially people in their late 20s and 30s.
Nostalgia.
That grew up watching Ninja Turtles and playing the video games, and so they're going to want to go see these movies that feed on this nostalgia, and they will either really enjoy it, or they'll be like, meh, or they'll passionately hate it, but either way, they'll be able to say that they went to go see the movie.
Yeah.
And if anything, it'll make them go back and maybe watch old videos, old episodes of Ninja Turtles. So
I'd rather just go watch old episodes of Ninja Turtles and go see the movie, to be honest.
I don't think it's going to have another... It's not going to make much more than it already has. It's not going to have another weekend, like a 2 weekend in a row kind of thing. Do we have... Is The Giver in the draft or not?
No.
Nope.
No, it's...
Why isn't it? Was that a late announcement?
I think it was probably a late announcement. Actually, I can check with my admin privileges. But it was probably... let me see, add movie. No, it's not even like a replacement movie, because right now all I'm seeing is Frank Miller's A Dame to Kill For. Sin City, A Dame to Kill For as a replacement movie. I think Expendables 3 might have been in there too.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, that was even a thing. Like, because Lucy, honestly, Lucy is what saved us, to be honest. Me and Corey. As a replacement with Jupiter Ascending moving to 2015. And I don't know who the league commissioner is, but that dude sure is a genius for going with the Night Attack draft rules. And
Why
just
is
going
that?
with what, because at first I did Earth to Echo, and then I saw that they did Lucy, and I'm like, probably should go with them because Dan Dirks is a smart guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they go by what is predicted to do the best.
Oh.
And I just went with what was closest to like the time, like Jupiter Ascending was coming out at this time, and Earth to Echo was coming out the closest at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, all right, yeah, let's do that. And then I'm like, kids found footage movie, that's gonna suck. Like, that's not gonna do well at all. And I'm like, Lucy. Oh, that's this movie starring Black Widow.
Yeah.
That's gonna make money.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Now, I don't even look at it like it's what we're watching Weekly's movie. I'm just like, that's gonna make money. And so, like, switch.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, box office movie draft or box office draft. T2 did phenomenal. Like, so I'm so glad that we're gonna be able to do this for the winter and then maybe even next year. And I'm gonna be glad that we're gonna be able to do it as a 6-person league. The only thing that's gonna be bad is, like, some of you guys did name, like, nicknames and stuff. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to do a chart. This person equals that.
All right. Well, looking forward to the winter movie draft, and the summer one was fun. So looking forward to everyone. All right, that is going to do it for this episode of the Sci-Fi Geeks Club. Thanks, everybody, for watching and listening. And don't forget, you can subscribe to us on iTunes and Stitcher. Just do a search for Sci-Fi Geeks Club or Galactic Netcast. That's the network name. Leave us feedback. Email galacticnetcasts@gmail.com. galacticnetcasts@gmail.com. The voicemail number, that's also an option, 805-328-3966. We appreciate all that, and we appreciate you following us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+. So, I wish I had my soundboard working because I would hit my gavel. So, but I can probably do it just hitting the table, right?
Pow, pow, pow.
Okay, there you go. Meeting of the Sci-Fi Geeks Club adjourned. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Fix it in post, yo.
Thanks, Gregor.
Thanks, Gregor.
Thanks. Bye.
Love you, Dad. That was Matt.